The soft golden glow of the restaurant's dim lights felt like a warm embrace as I walked in hand with him. The sweet aroma of Italian cuisine filled the air, and laughter from nearby tables created an ambience of comfort and joy. But beneath the surface, I could sense a tension that I hoped wouldn't surface tonight. We had been looking forward to this dinner for weeks. After days of miscommunication and growing distance, I thought that a night out might help us reconnect. I wanted to believe that a romantic dinner could erase the worries that had crept into our relationship. As we stepped inside, I inhaled deeply, hoping the rich smells would soothe the anxiety gnawing at my insides. We were seated at a cozy table for two, the flickering candlelight casting shadows on our faces. I smiled at him, trying to ignore the nagging feeling in my stomach. "This place is beautiful, isn't it?" I said, trying to lighten the mood. He nodded but didn't seem entirely present. His mind was somewhere else, and I could feel it. "Yeah, it's nice," he replied, his eyes drifting to the menu rather than meeting mine. I felt a pang of disappointment, but I brushed it off, convincing myself that it was just a rough patch. As we ordered our food, I made small talk, trying to draw him into a conversation. "Do you remember the first time we came here? We had that amazing lasagna," I reminisced, hoping to evoke some warmth. He barely responded, lost in thought. "Yeah, I guess," he said absently. My heart sank a little more with each passing moment. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. "You seem a bit out of it tonight." He sighed deeply, putting down the menu. "I'm just thinking," he said, but his tone was sharp. "Why do you always have to pry into my thoughts?" The words hit me like a slap. "I'm not prying. I care about you, and I want to know what's bothering you." I shot back, my frustration bubbling to the surface. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "You don't get it, do you? Sometimes, I just need space. You always jump to conclusions and make it about you." My heart sank. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "This isn't just about me. I'm trying to understand what you're going through. I feel like I'm losing you." I exclaimed, my voice shaking. "Losing me? You're the one pushing me away with all your questions," he fired back, his tone raising in the crowded restaurant, drawing glances from nearby tables. I could feel the heat creeping up my cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and anger. The food arrived, but it felt like an afterthought. I pushed my plate around, my appetite gone. "You know what? Maybe I do ask too many questions, but it's only because I care," I said, my voice barely above a whisper now. He scoffed, his frustration palpable. "Caring doesn't mean smothering me. Can't you see that?" I looked away, fighting back tears. I just wanted us to enjoy this dinner together. I thought we could reconnect. My voice trembled as I spoke. But instead, it feels like I'm talking to a wall. Silence enveloped our table, the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses fading into the background. The weight of unspoken words hung heavily in the air, creating an invisible chasm between us. "Why do you have to make everything so difficult?" he finally said, the anger in his voice mixing with a hint of pain. "Can't you just relax for once?" "Relax?" I exclaimed, feeling a surge of indignation. "You think it's easy for me to just sit here and pretend everything's fine when it's not? You're shutting me out." He threw his hands up in frustration. "I'm not shutting you out. I just don't want to have this conversation right now." "Then when?" I shot back, tears finally escaping down my cheeks. "When will you be ready to talk? Because I can't keep pretending everything is okay." The sight of my tears seemed to pierce through his anger. His expression softened for a moment, but the tension still lingered. "I don't know, okay?" he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm just overwhelmed." "Overwhelmed," I echoed, feeling a mix of sympathy and frustration. "We're both overwhelmed. But I'm here, trying to support you, and you're pushing me away." "Maybe I don't know how to accept support," he admitted, his voice trembling now. "Maybe I just need time to figure things out on my own." I felt my heart ache for him. "I get that, but you don't have to go through it alone. I want to be there for you. I want to help." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I just don't want to burden you with my problems." "Burden? You could never be a burden to me," I exclaimed, feeling the weight of the moment. You're the person I care about most. Don't you see how much you mean to me?" His eyes softened again, and I could see the internal struggle in his expression. "I guess I've been afraid to let you see my weaknesses. I thought it would make me look weak. Letting me see your vulnerabilities doesn't make you weak. It makes you human," I said softly, reaching across the table to hold his hand. "I want to be there for you, not just during the good times, but during the tough ones too." He squeezed my hand, his grip tightening as if holding on to the connection we were rebuilding. "I don't want to fight like this anymore. I want us to be okay." "We will be okay," I reassured him, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. "But we have to communicate. I can't read your mind, and I don't want to keep feeling like I'm chasing you." He nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing as he looked into my eyes. "I promise I'll try to be more open. I'm just still figuring things out." "Then let's figure it out together," I said, my heart swelling with hope. "We're a team, remember?" The warmth returned to the atmosphere around us, and I could feel the heaviness lifting. We spent the rest of the evening talking, sharing our fears and dreams, slowly patching the wounds that had opened during the argument. As we finished our meal, I realized that this night had transformed from a moment of conflict into an opportunity for growth. We may have fought, but we also learned to understand each other more deeply. Later that evening, we decided to take a stroll along the nearby river. The night air was cool, a welcome contrast to the heated discussion we had just endured. The moon cast a silver sheen over the water, and the soft sounds of nature enveloped us, creating a serene backdrop for our renewed conversation. "I've been thinking," I started, breaking the silence, "about how we communicate. I know I can come off too strong sometimes, and I want to work on that." He looked at me thoughtfully, his brow furrowing. "And I need to let you in more. I've been trying to handle everything alone, thinking that it would make me stronger. But it's only made things worse." "I don't want you to feel like you have to carry everything by yourself," I replied, my heart aching for him. "We're in this together, and I want to share that weight with you." He nodded, his expression serious. "I know. I just don't want to drag you down with my problems. It scares me to think I might ruin what we have." "Look at us," I said, gesturing to the world around us. "We're already facing challenges together. Isn't that what makes us stronger? Our ability to face difficulties and still come out on the other side." He smiled softly, and I could see the light returning to his eyes. "You're right. I just need to learn to trust you more." As we walked hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We were slowly bridging the gaps that had formed between us. The river flowed beside us, a constant reminder that life goes on, no matter how turbulent the waters may seem. Over the next few weeks, we made a conscious effort to communicate more openly. Our evenings were filled with deep conversations, laughter, and moments of vulnerability that brought us closer. I discovered things about him that I hadn't known before: his childhood fears, his dreams, and the pressures he faced at work. He learned about my struggles with self-doubt and the anxiety that sometimes clouded my mind. One evening, as we cuddled on the couch, I found myself reflecting on how far we had come. "You know, I'm really proud of us," I said, resting my head on his shoulder. "We've grown so much since that night at the restaurant." He smiled, a warmth radiating from him. "I feel the same way. It's like we've opened a new chapter in our relationship. It's all about learning how to navigate the rough waters together," I replied, feeling a surge of gratitude. "I'm grateful for your willingness to share your thoughts and feelings." He looked down at me, his expression serious. "I'm grateful for your patience and understanding. I know it hasn't been easy, but I promise to keep working on it." "Me too," I said, looking into his eyes. "We're in this together, no matter what." As the months passed, our bond deepened. We learned to appreciate the little things, sharing meals, going for walks, and simply being present with each other. The weight of our earlier arguments began to fade, replaced by a newfound intimacy that felt refreshing and invigorating. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, a beautiful contrast to the darkening horizon. "Isn't it amazing how something so beautiful can come after a storm?" I said, my heart swelling with emotion. He nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Just like us. We faced our storm, but we're still standing strong. I turned to him, feeling the warmth of his presence. I can't imagine going through this with anyone else. You mean so much to me. You mean everything to me, he replied, his voice sincere. Thank you for not giving up on us. I'll always fight for us, I said firmly, my heart filled with love. No matter what challenges we face in the future, I believe we can overcome them together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Our journey hadn't been easy, but it had taught us invaluable lessons about love, trust, and communication. We leaned into each other, a silent promise passing between us. No matter how turbulent the waters of life might become, we would navigate them together, hand in hand. As the weeks turned into months, the weight of our past conflicts faded, replaced by a sense of renewal in our relationship. We were learning to communicate openly, and I felt a growing sense of intimacy that warmed my heart. Our shared laughter, playful teasing, and tender moments began to outweigh the memories of that fateful night at the restaurant. One sunny Saturday morning, we decided to take a day trip to the beach. The sun glistened on the water, and the sound of waves crashing against the shore created a peaceful backdrop. As we walked along the sandy beach, hand in hand, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we had come. Can you believe how different things are now? I asked, glancing at him with a smile. He looked at me, his eyes sparkling with joy. It feels like we've finally found our rhythm. I love being able to talk to you without the fear of it turning into a fight. I love it too, I said, feeling a rush of affection. It's like we've built a stronger foundation for our relationship. As we continued our stroll, I suddenly felt adventurous. Let's go for a swim, I exclaimed, pulling him toward the water. Are you sure? He laughed, clearly caught off guard. It's a bit chilly. Come on, live a little, I teased, playfully splashing water at him. With a reluctant chuckle, he agreed, and soon we were both laughing and splashing in the waves, the chill forgotten as we lost ourselves in the moment. I felt carefree, like a child again, and it was in that moment I realized just how much I had missed this lightness in our relationship. However, as with any relationship, life had its way of testing us. A few weeks later, just as we were settling into our new normal, he received an unexpected job offer in a different city. The opportunity was incredible. Better pay, more responsibility, a chance to advance his career. But it also meant leaving everything behind. Our home, our friends, and me. When he first mentioned the offer, my heart sank. What are you thinking? I asked, my voice trembling. This is a huge decision. I know, he replied, his expression serious. But it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I need to consider it. I felt a wave of panic wash over me. But what about us? What about everything we've worked for? He reached for my hand, his eyes filled with concern. I don't want to lose you. But I can't pass up this chance either. I need you to understand that. His words struck a chord deep within me. I understood the weight of his ambition. I respected it. But I also felt the fear of losing him creeping in. I don't want to hold you back from your dreams, but can we really make this work if you're in another city? The conversation spiraled into uncertainty, each of us grappling with the implications of his potential move. We spent nights tossing and turning, our once peaceful evenings now filled with tension and unresolved questions. After several days of intense discussion, we decided to sit down and lay everything on the table. Let's talk about this, I suggested, my voice steady despite the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. We need to consider all our options. We spent hours discussing our feelings, fears, and the logistics of a long-distance relationship. He expressed his worries about how it would change our dynamic, and I shared my fears of feeling abandoned. What if we grow apart? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. We won't, he promised, holding my gaze. If we're committed to each other, we can make it work. We've already overcome so much together. As we talked, I felt a mix of emotions, fear, sadness, but also a flicker of hope. I believe in us, I said finally. I just need to know that we'll prioritize each other, no matter what. He nodded, his expression earnest. I'll do whatever it takes. We can schedule regular video calls, plan visits, and make time for each other. I don't want to lose what we have. It was a difficult compromise, but deep down, I knew we could try. We had built a solid foundation, and I didn't want to let fear dictate our choices. Okay, let's do it, I said, my heart racing at the thought of him being away. But I need to feel like we're in this together. I promise, he replied, a sense of determination in his voice. We'll make it work. The days leading up to his departure were a whirlwind of emotions. As we packed up his things and prepared for the move, I felt a bittersweet ache in my chest. I wanted him to succeed, to embrace this new opportunity, but the thought of him being far away was daunting. On the day of his departure, I stood outside our apartment, the air thick with anticipation and sadness. This is it, I said, my voice breaking as I fought back tears. You're really going? I'll come back to visit as often as I can, he promised, wrapping his arms around me. And we'll talk every day. I mean it. I know, I whispered, burying my face in his shoulder, trying to memorize the feeling of him being so close. I just wish this wasn't happening. He pulled back, cupping my face in his hands. You're my heart, and no distance can change that. Remember, this is a new chapter for both of us. As he drove away, I felt a piece of my heart go with him. I stood there for a long time, watching his car disappear around the corner, feeling both proud of him and utterly lost. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in work and tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. Our video calls became a nightly ritual, and I looked forward to seeing his face, even if it was through a screen. We shared our days, our triumphs, and our struggles, finding solace in the connection we had nurtured. However, long distance wasn't without its challenges. There were nights I felt particularly lonely, scrolling through old photos of us and wishing he was there to hold me. I would often burst into tears, missing him more than I could express. One evening, after a particularly tough day at work, I called him, my voice shaky. I just miss you so much, I admitted, feeling vulnerable. I miss you too, he said softly, his voice filled with empathy. But we're doing this for a reason. Remember the dreams we talked about? This is just a stepping stone. His words were comforting, but they didn't erase the ache in my heart. I know, but some days feel unbearable without you. I just want to feel your arms around me. I wish I could be there, he said, his voice thick with emotion. But I'm always with you in spirit. Let's plan a visit soon, okay? Okay, I replied, feeling a little better. I'll hold you to that. After months of navigating our long-distance relationship, the day finally came for our first visit. My heart raced with excitement as I prepared for his arrival. I wanted everything to be perfect: clean apartment, favorite meals cooked, and a surprise waiting for him. As the clock ticked closer to his arrival, I could hardly contain my nerves. Finally, I heard a familiar knock at the door. My heart leapt as I opened it, and there he stood, a big smile on his face, holding a bouquet of flowers. Surprise, he said, and my heart swelled with joy. I can't believe you're here, I exclaimed, throwing my arms around him. It felt like coming home. We spent the next few days soaking up every moment together. Each laugh, each shared meal, and every stolen kiss reminded me of how much I had missed him. It felt as if no time had passed, and yet everything had changed. On the final evening of his visit, we sat on the balcony under a blanket of stars. This has been the best weekend, I said, leaning into him. It has, he agreed, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. It's moments like these that remind me why I'm doing this. Promise me we'll keep fighting for this, I said, my voice serious. I don't want to lose what we've built. I promise, he replied, his gaze unwavering. No matter where I am, you'll always be my priority. We can make this work as long as we both want it. As he packed his bags for his return journey, I felt a sense of dread creeping back in. I wish you didn't have to go, I admitted, my voice shaky. He pulled me close, kissing the top of my head. I know. But this isn't the end. It's just another chapter. We'll continue to grow, and we'll be stronger for it. The journey back felt heavier than usual, but I held on to the memories of our time together. I was learning to embrace the distance, knowing it was part of our journey. Months turned into a year, and as we celebrated our anniversary, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come. We had faced challenges, endured distance, and had grown through it all. One evening, under the soft glow of fairy lights in our backyard, he surprised me with a romantic dinner. I wanted to celebrate not just our love, but everything we've overcome, he said, pouring sparkling juice into 2 glasses. Here's to us, I said, raising my glass, my heart full. To the adventures ahead and to always fighting for our love. To us, he echoed, clinking his glass against mine, his eyes shining with affection. As we shared stories and laughter over our meal, I felt an overwhelming sense of happiness. It was moments like these that made every struggle worthwhile. We had built a beautiful life together, one filled with love and connection. As I leaned back in my chair, gazing at him with adoration, I knew I had found my forever partner. He took my hand, squeezing it gently. I can't imagine a day without you by my side. You make everything better. Tears of happiness welled in my eyes as I smiled. And you make my life complete. I never want to lose this. In that moment, I felt a surge of hope for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, hand in hand, hearts intertwined. We had proven that love could weather any storm and that together, we could create our own happiness. As the stars twinkled above us, I whispered, I love you more than words can express. I love you too, he replied, his voice filled with sincerity. Always and forever. And in that perfect moment, under the vast expanse of the night sky, I knew that we were exactly where we were meant to be, together, in love, ready for whatever life had in store for us.